Welcome to Math with Mr. Evans. Yay! This is lesson 12-3, which is combining volume. All right, so let's just quickly go over what you already know about volume. So when you have a three-dimensional shape with a length, a width, and a height, you know that volume is length times width times height, or it's also the base times the height, and to find the base is just length times width, right? So you can do it either way. So our length is 5, our width is 2, and our height is 2. So 5 times 2 times 2 equals 20. So our answer for this cube is 20 inches cubed. Okay, remember the little 3 just means cubed. Okay, means we're talking about volume. So 20 inches cubed. Now, this is the formula for any rectangular shape, but what if I have a shape that looks like this? Okay, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I'm just going to do the length times the width, which is 2, times the height. Length times width times height, which is 10, right? This is what you're thinking. All right, so if you were to measure that and multiply 12 times 2 times 10, what you're actually saying is this shape right here is what you were finding the volume from. If you did 12 times 2 times 10, you were saying this shape, volume, is what you're looking for. The problem is all this space is empty. So you can't do 12 times 2 times 10 because there's nothing in this space right here. So you can't count it as volume. So what we're going to do is we're going to split this shape. I'm just going to cut it. I'm going to cut it right there on the red dotted line. And that's going to give me a tall rectangle standing up and a little bit shorter one laying down. Now I have two separate rectangles, and I have this blue one, and I drew the lines down lower so you could see what it would look like hiding behind that one that's on the side. Okay, so if I imagine that blue one is all by itself, and now I have this red one that's all by itself. Okay, so now I have two completely separate rectangles that I can find the volume from. So the base is no longer, or the length is no longer 12. We're going to get rid of that because the whole thing was 12, and we're not counting the whole thing anymore. We have two separate pieces, so we don't need that number right now. Okay, so if I am looking at the red one, the length is actually 8. It's not 12 anymore, it's 8. And if you're saying that 8 is on top, well, it's still the length of the top. The length of the top and the length of the bottom are the exact same size, so it doesn't matter where that 8 is. Okay, the 8 could be at the bottom of the red piece, and it would still be the length. Okay, as long as it is how long it is. So our first number is 8. Okay, the width, if we will look down on the side here, is 2. So we're going to do 8 times 2, length times width. And then our height, which is 3. This little red one is 3 tall. So 8 times 2 times 3. And the volume is 48 inches cubed. Now that's just the red one. Now we need to do the blue one. So on the blue rectangle, we need to find the length. Well, the whole length of the whole shape used to be 12, but it's not 12 anymore because we cut it. So how do we find the length of this blue one? We only have one number on the blue one. Well, the length here would have been this entire piece, so the original piece across the bottom, but take away the red 8. Okay, so it used to be 12, but we cut off that red piece, which is 8. So if it used to be 12, we can minus 8, and what is left over is this blue section, which is 4 inches. Okay, so the whole thing used to be 12, and we cut off the red. The red is 8. So what's left? 4 inches, which means our length for the blue rectangle is 4. So 4 times the width. Now, if you look here, there is no width on this blue one. There's no number for the width. Luckily for us, this width is the same as this width. If you look at the original shape, they go just as wide. Each piece goes just as wide. So that means however wide the red one is, the blue one is the same width. Down here, over here, it's all going to be 2. So our length 4 times our width 2 times our height, that's the only number they actually gave us, which was 10. So 4 times 2 times 10 equals 80 inches cubed. So now I have two shapes with two different volumes. Okay, but we're going to combine them. We're going to put them together to find the volume of that original L that was there. And the way you do that is you just take the two volumes and you add them together. So 48 plus 80 is 128 inches cubed. So the volume of the red and the blue together is 128 inches cubed. Let's look at this shape. Okay, so I can cut it right here and make a long flat one and then a tall rectangle sitting on top of it. Okay, so here's my long one. But I can also, there's the long one, I can also cut it this way if I want to. It doesn't matter. You can cut it any way you want, okay, as long as you have a rectangular prism. So if I cut it long ways, that gives me a little bit shorter one down here at the bottom, okay, and then this tall one over here. Either way, when we add them together, we're going to get the same answer when we're all done. So as long as you cut a straight line and make two rectangles, you can cut it any way you want. So I'm going to leave it this way since I already drew the colors here. We have our blue and our red. There's what the blue would look like hiding behind the red. All right, so red, we're going to start with the length. Okay, how long is this? It is 8 yards. 8 times the width, which is 5, times the height, which is 4. So 8 times 5 times 4 is 160 inches cubed, and then, oh, that should say yards cubed. Oh, I made a mistake. Okay, 160 yards cubed. Let's look at the blue one. So now the blue one, we need the length, okay? So what is this length? Well, it's not down here, but it is up at the top. And remember, the top and the bottom lengths are always the same. So this is going to be 4 yards times the width. How deep does this go back? Okay, this piece right down here, or up top, remember they're the same width. Okay, we don't have that measurement. So we can look at the red one because it's the same width as the red one, which is that 5. So the width of the blue one is also the width of the red one, which is 5. So 4 times 5 times, and then the height they gave us, which is 16. And 4 times 5 times 16 is 320 inches cubed. Oops, it should be yards, but that's okay. And then we're going to combine our volumes. Combine our volumes with 160 plus 320. Okay, so we end up with 480, and it should say yards cubed. Actually, I wrote inches, but yards cubed. So 480 total of the blue and the red together. All right, this shape looks a little bit different. So let's see how we can cut it to make two separate pieces. Okay, so you can cut it right down like this, or you can cut it like this. So again, that gives you a long skinny one and a little one kind of a little bit taller at the end. Or if you cut it this way, it gives you very long skinny one and just this little tiny rectangle on top. All right, so if I cut it this way, that leaves me with this little guy over here. But if I cut it this way, I end up with this piece. Okay, that cut's got to go all the way down, so I drew it down again. That leaves me this piece and a little bit bigger one over here on the side. Either way you cut it, it will still work. Your numbers might be a little bit different, but when you add them together at the end, you will get the same answer. Okay? So let's start with the red one. We have a width of 3. We have a length of, I don't know, what is that length? Okay, the whole thing used to be 8 yards. Okay, the whole thing used to be 8 yards, but I took out that blue section. And that blue section is 6 because you can see at the top it says it's 6 up there. Before it gets to the little step, it's 6 yards. So if I cut right at that step, that means the blue rectangle is 6, and I'm going to take that out. So if the whole thing was 8, and I took out the blue, which was 6, that means left over is 2. So the red width is 2. Okay, and then the height, it says right there, it is 5, so times 5. So 3 times 2 times 5 is 30. And, oh, I sure like those inches. This should say yards, but I wrote inches. That's okay. 30 is the important number. All right, let's move on to the blue one. So we know our length is 6 because it's written right there. Our width, how wide is this? It says right at the end, 2 yards. Okay, so we're going to write times 2. And how tall is it? There's no height on the blue one. But the blue and the red are both the same height. If you look at how tall they are, they're both the same height. So whatever the red height was, which was 5, the blue height is the same. It's 5. So it's going to be 6 times 2 times 5, which gives us 60 yards squared, not inches, sorry. And then we're going to just add those together. 30 plus 60 is 90, so the volume is 90 yards squared on this shape here. All right, this is number 1 on your homework. So I'm going to do it with you. If you'd like to pull up your homework, you may do it at the same time. Okay, we're going to cut this into 2 rectangles. You cannot have a step. So if I cut it right here, you can see I have a little cube rectangle at the bottom, and I have this taller one on the right-hand side here. Okay, so here's my red one. And again, I drew it down below so you can see it hiding underneath the other one. And then I have my blue piece right here. So we need to find the volume of the blue one and the volume of the red one. I'm going to get rid of those red marks because you know they're hiding back there, but they might just get in your way and distract you. So the blue one is the little one, and the red one hides a little bit behind that blue one. So the whole thing is 6, right? The whole length is 6. But if you look at the back, it tells you 3, which is the same up front, and the same down below, right? Because they're all the width. They're all how wide it is. It doesn't matter where that measurement is. They're all the same. So it can be 3, 3, and 3. They're not going to write all those 3s. So since they just wrote the 3 in the back, we know it's the same up front. So the length is 3 times the width. How wide is this piece? Well, down at the bottom, you see it has a 9 going all the way back. So 9 wide. And then how tall? Look at that. They gave us how tall it is right there. The height, which is also a 3. Okay, so we have 3 times 9 times 3, which is 81. And then we're going to go to our red one. So our length is 3. Again, the 3 is written in the back, but we know it's the same length up front. So each one was 3, which, look at that, it made 6 total. 3 plus 3 is 6. Both of them were 3s. All right, so 3 times the length, or the width, which is how far back it goes. And it goes back just as far as the blue one because they're both connected. The blue one back 9, so the red one also goes back 9. And then, how high is it? Now, this red one is taller than the blue one, so it's not going to be 3. It's going to be something else. And if you look at the front here, it says the height is 6. Okay, so 6 inches high. So 3 times 9 times 6 will be our volume for the red one. And we have 162 inches cubed. And to combine those volumes, all we're going to do is add 81 plus 162. We have 243 inches cubed. There's your answer for number 1.